right. How are you? Welcome to Paging Dr. Guillotine, episode 6, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I am your host, musician with a day job, wage slave, regular dude, just like you. Unless you're like a multimillionaire or something, then we're not the same. But if you're a regular person, I am just like you, and my name is Marco. And if you're watching this, I'm grateful. I'm happy because I don't have any expectations about this. The subject could be controversial or upsetting sometimes, and so if you're like watching, if you're into it, if you're paying attention, then I'm super thankful. So I haven't posted. Today is February 9th, and I haven't done anything since December 31st, the birthday episode for my dad. I did record an episode in the interim, but it glitched out somewhere, so hopefully that doesn't happen now. I'm going to keep this very brief. I'm just going to do a recap of the things that happened in the month of January 2025, and uh, I'm going to just briefly discuss the thing. So, like right off the bat, on January 1st, a army veteran who the press was immediately, they were like, this guy, he's been from an Al Qaeda sleeper cell or some shit, but he was an army vet and he plowed through with a vehicle down Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve, killing 14 people and injuring a ton of other people. And then he was killed in a shootout with the police. The whole thing, mad sketch, super sus as usual, as these things usually are. Probably, very rich in conspiracy out there in the internet worlds. Um, but yeah, and then it disappeared. It's not in the press anymore. No one knows what happened. No one knows why it happened. Well, they know it. He left like I don't know if he left a manifesto, but we found out that he was getting divorced and fucking homeboy couldn't handle his emotions. He was a failed real estate person. Also, this is very funny. He was a failed real estate agent. And he was a failed real estate agent. And one thing about I'm on Facebook. I have Facebook acquaintances and friends, and what I've noticed is that anyone who gets their real estate license, it becomes their identity. You can just be friends if you're into real estate. If you're selling, buying, whatever you're doing, more power to you. Good luck. But it doesn't have to be your personality. It's just a job, and one that requires that kind of reinforces the weight, the whole wage slavery and rent and all that. But we'll discuss that at another time. All right. Also on January 1st, there was a huge fire at the Katamanto market in Ghana, one of the largest secondhand clothing markets in the world, where very creative people upcycle clothes. It is, conditions are terrible, and people don't get paid a living wage and all that stuff, and now it caught fire. So and that also fell out of the news. There was no follow up. More beef between Ukraine and Russia. Nothing new there. Oh, this is funny. So, on January 4th, because if he could do less than nothing, why wouldn't he? Joe Biden gives out to 19 people the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which the older I get, the more it just looks like rich people jerking themselves off. The one that I will say that if you're going to give recognition to somebody, there's the humanitarian chef Jose Andres. I'm pretty sure that his staff were the ones that were bombed more than once. Israel bombed his World Aid Kitchen organization. They had vans feeding people in war-torn, you know, areas where genocide is actively happening, and they bombed his staff. So, but they gave him presidential Medal of Freedom. So maybe it's all is forgiven. Maybe, or is Jose going to keep, you know, trying to keep the powers that be accountable? Who else got a Medal of Freedom? Oh, this is funny. Hillary Clinton got a Medal of Freedom. Why? Because her actions in Libya as Secretary of State caused, you know, the institution of slavery. There are open air slave sales in Libya right now because of Hillary Clinton, and she gets a Medal of Freedom. The irony is thick. The irony is, as Corey Glover would say, the irony is delicious. Actually, it's a good chance Vernon wrote that. But anyway, Denzel Washington, he's a great actor. Lionel Messi, great soccer player. Michael J. Fox, great actor. I mean, all right, so you're giving people in the, you know, top of their field a Presidential Medal of Freedom award. Bono gets one. Bono, I like a very particular moment of U2. I think U2 had they have, obviously they know how to write hits, but their most interesting, and this is a hill I will die on, their best work happens between 1990 and 1999. And that's the Achtung Baby, Zooropa, and Pop Records. And that's where I think that's the peak. That is by far the best U2. Aside from that, aside from them musically, what people really love to hate about them is Bono and his seemingly like overly sold philanthropy. You know, like he's trying too hard with his philanthropic efforts. It almost seems disingenuous. I'm almost waiting for this shoe to drop on like finding out some horrible shit about the guy. Like there's going to be a Netflix documentary about Bono that's going to just be very upsetting. And then George Soros, sure, just feed into the conspiracy theories. Oh yeah. So on January 5th, New York City instituted a $9 congestion charge for everything under 60th Street, Avenue, Street. I'm pretty sure it's Street. Yeah, 60th Street, because it goes this way, not that way. Apparently, traffic's not as sucky, but who knows where, how those funds. Now they got to, you know, a ton of people have to go into that area, have to drive in. Some people just can't get around it, and so let's see where that money goes. January 6th, Justin Trudeau resigns. A lot of people are saying that Trump got that it was pressure from the tariff threats and all that. That's all bullshit. He went to Mar-a-Lago. He went to bend the knee, and his Liberal Party didn't like it, so they were like, get the fuck out. And he's still, while they're figuring it out, he's still acting prime minister. So it's like, whatever. Someone died. A human in Louisiana died of the bird flu. That's not terrifying. A 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit Tibet, causing damages in Nepal, China, and India, killing 126 people. I didn't even see that in the press. I didn't see that at all through social media. But what I did see was on the same day, the Santa Ana winds pushing the wildfires across Los Angeles through the very wealthy Palisades. I don't think Eaton is that wealthy? I don't think. I think that's like a regular working class neighborhood. I'm not sure. Correct me, Californians. And Hearst fires. So Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires causing tons of damage. They got picked up by the wind. Um, that whole debacle is going to cost and the inability the the shitty response to the crisis of 16,000 structures, houses, businesses burning up, and 29 people passing away um, as a result of the fire, be succumbing to the fire, or the smoke inhalation or whatever. All the things that could happen, the bad things that could happen in a fire. And despite the response being the same in red states like in North Carolina, when they had the floods where there was poor municipal response, same thing's going to happen. But now it's heightened by things like the governor, who many people think should run for president. I don't think he should run for. I think he's part of a rich family that's been in politics and business for decades. Gavin Newsom, he said that it was a local problem, basically rolling the shit downhill to the mayor, Mayor Karen Bass, who was she was out of town. She was not where she was supposed to be. At some vanity political event in, I think, Ghana. Leaving her city without leadership. And I think it's gonna, that'll be. And then the federal government issued offered a one-time payment of $700. And that's just unacceptable when we see how much money goes to such unnecessary shit like wars and genocides. It's not necessary. That's all. We can take care of our people, and as a country, and we'll get to this later when we talk about the immigration debate. A healthy economy should be able to absorb immigrants. That is a sign of a healthy economy. This isolationism that's happening, that is a sign of a bad economy. Yeah. And, we'll discuss that later. On January 7th, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook and Instagram are removing third-party fact-checkers, because why would you need fact-checkers in a social media space where anyone can say anything? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one cares. So why? Why bother with fact-checkers? Jimmy Carter was laid in state at the U.S. Capitol. A lot of people feel positively about Jimmy Carter, but if you know anything about any American president, there's none of them that you should look up to. They're all rotting in hell. Your favorite one, yes, Ronald Reagan, yes, Jimmy Carter, yes, Abraham. They are all Kennedy. Maybe amongst them less so Kennedy, because he apparently was trying to stop the end of the Vietnam War and dismantle the war machine. But they're all, maybe FDR because he implemented working class policies. But for the most part, they're all war criminals and horrible. Definitely everyone from Carter to today. All the other ones, go ahead, look at them through rose-colored glasses. I don't give a shit. But from Carter to now, Carter, Reagan, Bill Clinton. Oh, I forgot Bush. He's forgettable. Bush 1. Clinton, Obama. Bush 2, Obama. Trump, Biden, Trump. They all suck. They're all terrible, and they're all terrible for the same reasons. You think that they're on different teams, but they're not on different teams. They're all on team fuck you. Are you a working class person? Do you work to pay for your bills? Is that what you work to pay rent? Are you a wage slave? They're all trying to fuck you. So Jimmy Carter, good for you, dog. Whatever, you made it through. He did seem to try to make up for the fact that he sucked for the rest of his life, because Yeah, he seemed to spend a lot of time on building houses for the poor and shit. But still, he supported the invasion of East Timor. So what? So on January 10th, climate scientists told us that in 2024, Earth breached for the first time the 1.5 degrees Celsius rise in temperature limit that the Paris Climate Accord in 2015 had agreed upon. And that's not good. The planet's getting hotter. And we had a really cold winter, and people don't seem to understand that when the polar ice caps melt, um, it's still fucking cold. It's just not cold enough for all of it to stay frozen. So all that cold travels down, and we get cold. And we have like snow in Florida this past month. That's not normal. What is it going to take? The insurance companies know what the fuck is up. They're not covering your houses in these areas that are prone. Good luck getting flood insurance inside the mountains of North Carolina, where you should not need flood insurance, but it flooded. Or every insurance company leaving the state of Florida because they know it's going to be underwater in 40 years. Maybe less, probably less. I would say probably less than 15 years. We see Florida underwater. And we did it to ourselves. Shout out to Nature Jab. There's an account on Instagram, this guy, Nature Jab. I don't know his name, but the account is called Nature Jab. This guy can turn plastic back into fuel. And now when I see plastic waste, I go, oh, that's just fuel that hasn't been used yet or that hasn't been recycled. But yeah, we're just turning the temperature up on the planet. Good, go us. Bunch of smart, dumb monkeys. And so NASA goes, oh yeah, 2024 was the warmest year on record, toppling the previous high set in 2023. This isn't good. What's it going to take? What is it going to take? Does all of California have to burn? Is that what it has to be? On January 10th, President-elect Donald Trump got sentenced by a federal court to no punishment after being convicted of falsifying business records. So yeah, this power doesn't turn. I don't know, when people are like, oh my God, Letitia James is going to go get him. Power doesn't turn on power. The powerful don't attack each other. All right. Don't go looking for, even if you think, oh, representation, this person represents me in some facet or way, right? But they're within the machinery of the power structure. They're not going to do anything. Gavin Newsom said on the 12th that the California wildfires will be one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history because it burned through 40,000 acres, destroyed 12,000 structures, and killed at least 24 people that they know of. Yeah, and it ties into the discussion of, we just talked about climate change. No shit. China on the 13th announced trade surplus of $990 billion, now producing a third of the world's manufactured goods. China's just destroying us being the American empire. And I should really say them because I don't really feel like a part of that. I'm just in it. But yeah, if you are one of these people that follows the economy, China is just running the table on America. And America is just going to just tariff itself into isolation from the rest of the world. U.S. Justice Department released Special Counsel Jack Smith's final report on former and future President Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 elections. Trump responded on social media calling Smith deranged and a lame brain. Adorable tit for tat insults. Again, power does not turn on power. How many times do we have to repeat this? Why are you expecting the Justice Department if the Justice Department had to go after one rich white person, then there'd be no excuse for them to go after every rich white person, right? And investigate their dealings, their contracts that they have with our State Department, with these areas of the government that don't get any audits, that spend a fuck ton of money. And here we are giving $700 to people in California for burnt homes, or a one-time payment of $900 to the Hawaiians that lost their homes in their fire. So they can't. It's like Jenga. They can't remove a piece without the whole thing toppling over. And if they remove a piece and the whole thing doesn't topple over, the people go, "Hey, why didn't all of this topple over?" And that it, pushes the direction for more investigation into where all our tax money is going, because they collect all of it. I get taxed out the ass. Everything is taxed. Everything's a commodity. And I don't see it in our infrastructure. On the 15th, Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire and a prisoner hostage swap ending 15 months. It says on this thing that I'm reading, conflict, but it's a genocide. It's fairly one-sided. On the 15th, at least 100 people thought to have died from starvation after a crackdown on illegal mining at the Stilfontein mine in South Africa. That sounds Dutch as fuck. With 166 people rescued. First of me hearing about this. Yeah. And then you wonder why South Africa's taking back its lands and giving it to South Africans. All right, let's see. iSpace and Firefly Aerospace launched their mission to the moon aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral. Included is art project of a little red model of a Swedish house. Are these private companies just doing moon missions? This is like a Pusher album. All right, so iSpace is definitely privately owned. Publicly traded Japanese company. And a private aerospace firm based in Cedar Park, Texas. So people just fucking too much money, just shooting missions to the moon with bullshit art in the cargo. On January 15th, South Korea suspended President Yoon Suk Yeol was arrested after a week-long standoff at his presidential compound in Seoul. This is a wild story. This guy barricaded himself in for a minute, tried to get the military, or some faction of the military, to overthrow the parliament, whatever representative body they have over there. The Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, I don't care. It's some weird shit going on there that's going to be the topic of a Netflix documentary, I'm sure. All right, so on January 19th, Israel and Hamas ceasefire went into effect in Gaza after the release of some hostages. The Palestinian death toll was tallied on this day at 46,800, but it is widely believed that it is at least at 500,000, maybe more, maybe 600,000, which is a wild disparity in number. This is a funny story for so many reasons. I went back earlier. I said, China is just basically thriving in the free market in manufacturing and such. On the 20th, the Chinese startup DeepSeek launched AI model RI with capabilities similar to OpenAI and ChatGPT and all that other shit, but at a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the computing power, a fraction of the damage to the earth, prompting experts to call it a Sputnik moment. This is funny for a lot of reasons. American people that like believe in America, right? People that are like the America First crowd, and I'm not opposed to like where you're from like wanting that place, that area to thrive economically. That makes sense. You don't want to be in a economically depressed area. But you don't achieve that by being an isolationist. Anyway, so what happened is that isolationism presented itself in the form of all these AI companies, some of them who promised to develop AI open source so anybody could take the coding or whatever the valuable aspect of it is and move forward with it as to the best of their abilities. That got closed off the minute that OpenAI got sold to Microsoft. And all this work that was being done was being done behind closed doors, and DeepSeek just took a runny shit on a $1 billion industry that is propping up the American stock market, which is crazy. It's crazy. Not crazy that they got there. Good for the Chinese for being better at capitalism than the most capitalist country. It's crazy that for how much money is spent and how big a chunk of the economy it is, that they get blindsided by this, and it caused the economy to dip. Funny thing about this is that 4 days before this happened, Nancy Pelosi sold her stock, or a chunk of her stock that she had on NVIDIA, one of the AI chip manufacturers, one of the big ones. On the same day, on the 20th, in his first day in office, Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 of his supporters who were charged with the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, the Saltine uprising. He declared an emergency at the southern border and withdrew the U.S. from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement. Yeah. World Health Organization. That's who keeps track of the bad shit that happens in the health, pandemics and shit like that. So we're not keeping record of the sick, the chronically sick, and the potentially pandemically sick. Bad idea. Ignoring a pandemic is how his last term ended in disaster. So you'd think he'd learn, but no. Pardoning his supporters that were, found guilty of coupping, attempted attack on the Capitol. Bad precedent. They're on camera. They did what they did. They don't get to expect a pardon just because their guy eventually won. The rule is if it was 1,500 people that identified as Antifa or that identified as members of a Black Lives Matter rally, this wouldn't happen. So because the law would not be applied equally, it shouldn't be, or because this privilege would not be applied equally to the inverse of that situation. That's why I call bullshit. Withdrawing from the world, we're going over that, and then from the climate, the Paris Agreement on climate. Yeah, the planet's burning up, and this is just a hand job to his fuel and gas energy donors. That's exactly what that is. The declaring a national emergency at the border. 10 million undocumented workers coming into this country, right? Does not suppress wages of 330 million people. That is a lie told by conservatives. And at the peak of this country's production capabilities, a healthy economy should be able to absorb the immigrant population. Why are they coming to you? Because there's work. Now, there has to be regulations that those people coming should have a path to citizenship if they're working, and um, if they're part of the workforce, then you got to acknowledge them and not harass them with the power of the state. Um, you know, and also, um, you know, there's a crisis at the border, quote unquote, or there are people that show up to the border because you've destabilized the economies of the countries that they're from. So a large part of this has to do with demilitarizing, or not being the world's bully uh, when it comes to Brazil and Venezuela and Nicaragua. Yeah, you're destabilizing economies. Colombia now, um, and then you're surprised that people gravitate to where you're at. Marco Rubio was confirmed Secretary of State. Almost overwhelmed. I think there was no opposition. So just bipartisan bullshit. They can agree when they want to agree. Trump was inaugurated on the 20th. J.D. Vance was inaugurated vice president. Trump's the oldest person to take office officially, and joins Grover Cleveland as only the second elected to non-consecutive White House terms. And it was held indoors because it was cold as shit, because the climate is getting unpredictable. Trump issued an order halting all an executive order. He issued an executive order halting all foreign aid programs for 90 days, with the exception of some humanitarian aid, as well as with the exception of money and arms to Israel and Ukraine. Let's see. On the 21st, the deep south of the U.S. was hit with historic snowstorms. Louisiana, parts of Texas, issuing their first ever blizzard warnings, and snow accumulated in Louisiana and Florida. What else do you need to? What? How bad does shit? What more of a sign do you need when hell freezes over? On the 23rd, Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, who own the company, agreed to pay $7.4 billion to settle new lawsuits over the harm caused by the opioid epidemic. They should be taxed into poverty, the Sackler family. They should be taxed into poverty, and all the money generated from the sales of their properties and the sales of their art collections and all this bullshit should go into helping every person that is addicted to opioids, and something else. There was another thing that they initially made their millions on that was also hella nefarious. So in this home, we say fuck the Sackler family all day, every day. Trump issues pardon to 23 anti-abortion activists convicted of illegally blocking access to clinics. No, fuck those people. You don't tell other people what to do with their bodies. Fuck off. On my birthday, Trump fired a dozen independent inspector generals. Hilarious. He is supposed to, by law, give Congress 30 days advance notice and give a reason. He didn't do any of that. So I'm sure they're going to sue. There's probably lawsuits happening right now. On the 27th, James McHenry, the acting U.S. Attorney General, fired more than a dozen prosecutors who worked on special counsel Jack Smith's prosecution of Donald Trump. Obviously retaliatory behavior, but what ground does the Democratic Party have to stand on when they also do nefarious shit within their party? Jesus Christ, I didn't know this. Rwanda-backed rebels led by a Tutsi group, M23, seized Goma, the biggest city in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, displacing 500,000, 500,000 people. Stocks of NVIDIA, leading supplier of AI chips, lose $588.8 billion in market value, the most the stock has ever lost in a single day after the release of the Chinese AI model by DeepSeek. This is what I mean. And you know what? I don't think it even hurt them. I think they recovered their market value pretty quickly after that. I might be wrong. I don't follow the markets that quickly or that closely. Oh, yeah, on the 29th, an Army helicopter just went flying, beelined it into a commercial airline, killing 76 people, uh, including a bunch of figure skaters and crew members near Ronald Reagan, or as they were approaching Ronald Reagan National Airport near D.C. The irony of that is that air traffic controllers are overworked, undercompensated employees. They do not have a lot of union protection because their union was devastated by um, Ronald Reagan um, breaking their union by having the military do air traffic control in the 80s. And so the fact that this happened over Ronald Reagan National Airport is quite ironic. I'm sure I'm not the only one that noticed that irony. Yeah. On January 30th, former U.S. Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey got 11 years in prison for getting convicted of bribery after his conviction of bribery while in office. Good. Good. They should double that. If you're a politician, if you are in office and you have sway over the happenings of government, which includes contracts and shit of that nature, and you're found guilty of corruption, good. They should put you in prison. We should forget that you're there. On January 30th, France closed its last military base in Chad 2 months after the former French colony ended their defense cooperation agreement. Good. All colonial powers should get the fuck out of wherever they were colonizing. End of story. Fuck out of here. Get out of Africa. France, Belgium, England. Fuck all that. Get out. On the 31st, the U.S. Department of Justice fired more than a dozen federal prosecutors who investigated the January 6th riot, and many FBI agents who investigated the riot or participated in the search of classified documents at Trump's Mar-a-Lago house. These retaliations are wild. And liberals don't do anything about it. Democrats, the peak of liberalism, don't do shit. It is insane. Wild. All right, so that's basically the recap for January and all the bullshit that happened. If you agree, disagree, let me know. I can be reached very easily. I will put here. I will put the information to reach me here. Twitter, Instagram, anything else you could think of at Marco R. Lamas. This area I call the test kitchen. This what you see, what you can't really see much, but this is the test kitchen, and our email is testkitchenbk. It's me. My email for this, which I am trying to expand as a cooperative business entity, is the testkitchenbk@gmail.com, and we've made progress. So I couldn't get Patreon to work, so I typed in alternatives to Patreon, and lo and behold, I came across a website called Buy Me a Coffee, and this is super funny because I have a crippling addiction to caffeine, purely in the form of coffee. I can drink coffee all day, all night. It doesn't matter. I am fueled by caffeine almost entirely. Turns out, I learned from a medical professional that using caffeine to is a way to self-medicate for attention deficit, which you boys got. So anyway, all that to say that I started a page on an account at buymeacoffee.com/testkitchenstudio. It'll be here. buymeacoffee.com/testkitchenstudio. Basically, I break down who I am. I'm a musician with a day job. I share my thoughts on current events periodically. That's you, hear us. I'm working on building a network of like-minded musicians, hoping it grows organically. That network collectively is known as Big Fam, and that's what I'm working on. So if you want to sponsor that or help move that along and all that, buymeacoffee.com/testkitchenstudio. And with that, we'll leave you with some music and the credits, and I will see you soon. All right, peace.